So we're here today, me and my good friend Erik here to bring you some nice StarCraft 2 tournament games. And what do you have to say about this, Erik? Are you excited about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, Erik is excited about this, and so am I. And yeah, what do you think about what's going to happen today, actually?
Well, I actually have no idea because, well, we're just going to be jumping into some games. We don't even really know. We don't know much more besides their races and, yeah, like I don't think we even know their leagues. So
well,
we can't
we
say.
don't, actually.
So it's going to be a bit of a surprise, and I'm actually quite interested though because from what I remember, we're seeing a lot of different maps today and a lot of different matchups. And these are meant to be. These are actually pre-selected games from the last week or so that are highlighted games. Therefore, they probably demonstrate some sort of hilarity or. Maybe, well, hopefully we'll see some good skill as well.
Yeah, a good thing to point out, we have not seen these games yet. They have been handpicked, but not by us. So we haven't seen these games before this cast. What we can say, on the other hand, is that this is an online tournament by the UniSL, and this actually ends this week. So these are the last parts of the online tournament. But next week, we're going to start the finals. It's going to be offline. It's going to be great. And this is going to be played at Sjöstrand KTH. Yep. And you're going to have to tell all your friends about it.
It's a really nice campus. I'm there quite often myself. I go to Stockholm University at the same. It's like a shared campus called DSV. But yeah, it's a really nice campus, and I think it's going to be an awesome final. It's a great place for it. And yeah, Kista's quite close. If you live in Stockholm, you just hop on the blue line, and you go up towards Akala.
Yeah, actually, I was in Kista really recently to visit the GameX. The Swedish Game Expo.
I heard about that. I wasn't there, but I was unfortunately cranking out a paper like a couple days before it was due, so I didn't see any outside world for a couple days there. Well,
no, that's how it can be sometimes.
Unfortunately.
What we're going to have to do before we start, we're actually going to thank our sponsors here. I'm going to thank Complet for bringing us all this awesome gear that we actually use to bring you this. We're going to thank QPad for bringing us to the cameras, the lights, to make us, me and Erik, look really awesome. And also we would like to thank Kingston for providing us with the hard drive, so you can save this and laugh at it later.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure everyone's going to be doing that.
Well, at least I think some people are going to be watching and laughing at this. You know, for example, my family probably going to be laughing. They're going to be laughing at me. There's, you know, the son. I'm not even a doctor.
No comment.
Yeah, no, that's what's actually kind of erased this. We're actually going to erase that from the hard drive later. So thank you, Kingston, for bringing us that hard drive, which we can erase that comment from. Also, I would like to point out that UniSL in no way actually takes a standing in these things I say. So if I'm fired later, then you know why.
Actually, I think you're fired right now, according to... Yeah, you got to get out, man.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No worries, guys. No, but actually, jokes aside, we're actually going to watch a couple of games today. And like you said, it's going to be different games, some sort of highlights from this tournament. And
yeah, we have no idea exactly. I guess we'll see going into the games. It'll show which leagues they're in at least, so we have some semblance of what we might be able to expect. But actually, their first game is loading up now. So, and once we cut in, you'll see it's actually going to be Diamond, I think, versus someone in Platinum. Now, keep in mind that the ladder did just reset last week, so they have some kind of a system where it will demote people more often. So their actual skill could be a bit higher than what it claims.
Yes, and the players are going to be Burnaby versus Storm, a Zerg versus a Protoss. And what do you think about this matchup?
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. I mean, especially on a map like Derelict Watcher, you're not going to get too turtly of a game. It's not going to be like, you know, one of the maps like Akalon Wastes where you can wind up with a game lasting over an hour quite easily, actually. This is probably going to be a shorter game, I'd imagine. Maybe we'll see a 2-base all-in. The thing is that the real point of contention is this third base for the Protoss player, and the thing is, it's often quite hard to defend that. You have to run down a ramp and then another ramp to just get over there. So the Zerg can kind of just max out on Roach Ling or go for like a Hydra timing and shut that down. So there's actually, well, funny if we should say anything, but the Protoss is going for proxy gates.
Yes, and that's the first thing I noticed. We're going to see a proxy gate coming down here from Storm. What do you think this is going to lead up to?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much proxy gates you've seen in PvZ, but it actually has been somewhat prevalent in the last few months. I mean, I've definitely seen it before in the pro scene. Usually it's in the actual Zerg base, because when the Protoss goes for this, they're just like, you know what, I'm going to be cheesy, so I'm going to go all out. This is actually a bit more hidden, but somehow it's actually not getting scouted at all. So this second Overlord maybe not going in the best location. Usually you want that over the natural expansion, but it looks like, yeah, he is going for the drone scout, so he will notice there's something missing. So
yeah, he's going to see that there's no gateways in this base. There's only one pylon. That's probably going to set him off in some ways. At least I hope it's going to set him off. And he still hasn't scouted this, but you see him scouting the natural right now, probably looking for these proxies.
And he's actually not going to build his expansion, because he knows that there's proxy gates at this point, or at least maybe some forge or something like that. So he's taking a very safe response, getting 2 spines in the main, and he went for his pool. This is one way to deal with it. It's actually maybe a little bit overkill, because these gates are pretty far away. So I think he could potentially get away with 1 spine and a queen and just starting to get some lings. But he certainly will not die to this.
And the drone has some problem here. It's actually gonna be killed, so it not missed a little bit of micro there from our player Storm.
Yeah, and here come the first couple zealots up the ramp. The lings are just gonna fall back. The thing is here that we'll see if Burnaby is going to have the foresight to kind of imagine that the Protoss base is most likely going to be undefended for a couple minutes, since these zealots are obviously not back in the base. And if he's
seems like it's actually he's going to do a run by.
If you take a look at Storm's base, he's just now, I think, going to start his first cannon, and it's actually back to his mineral line. So this is going to be a very awkward game. Even if he can hold on to his main, there's really not going to be much opportunity for him to expand anytime soon, unless he manages to kill like a bunch of Zerglings or something like that.
And I love this kind of place where actually, you know, you get cheesed by your opponent, and you're like, I'm not going to care. I'm just going to walk by you and get right to your base. And that's actually going to hurt him a lot. You see the drone is going to go down, so they did miss micro once again, and the Spine Crow is going to try to burrow, and they're just going to hold this. But he lost quite a few lings.
The lings are now coming in. The cannon's actually just finishing. So I do think Burnaby came in here just a bit too late. He probably could have done a lot more damage had he come just 20 seconds earlier. But I think he still will get a couple probe kills at least, which he does need, because he's actually behind in the harvester count right now. Like I said before, I think he maybe overcommitted a bit to his defense. Maybe, I don't know if he ever actually saw where those gates were. Probably just imagine they were closer than they actually were in reality. So yeah, maybe a bit of an overcommitment to the defense on Burnaby's part. So if Storm can stabilize and get his expansion up, and also delay the expansion for the Zerg, he is actually not in too bad of a spot.
Yeah, and Bman does a little bit of bad micro there and loses quite a few Zerglings. But what he does actually, he does delay the harvesting for the probes for a while. So that's actually gonna cost Storm a little bit from that. And you see a whole bunch more Zerglings.
This is a lot of Zerglings. Now, this is actually a really big, almost an all-in attack, I'd say, because he's cut his drones quite significantly just to make this happen. And he needs to kill that cannon. I think he may have enough to actually take it down. And if so...
Not sure about this, actually, since the pros are going in as well. And it's a really good position. And I'm not sure why he's committing to this, because these Zerglings...
Because he's cut his drones, and now he's actually taken the cannon down, but there's another one that's going to finish, and he's going to get quite a couple probe kills, but I think he still needs a few more to make this worthwhile.
And he's going to try to bring down this pylon, but I'm not sure.
It's not the only pylon that's powering all those structures, but...
Yeah, but it's not going to be in time, and these Zerglings have been trapped among these probes, so quite a few probes are going to go down, but the cannon is going to survive this.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to say who's coming out here. The worker count has evened out more or less, but look, Burnaby's just continuing to make links. He has no prospect for expanding or anything like that, and he's built a gas, but not even mining from it, so it is a bit odd. Now, another weird thing to notice is that there's a proxy Twilight Council going on now, which is a bit of an odd decision, because Storm is obviously sees that there's so many links being made, and I think his first idea should be more about defending this than trying to do some kind of counterattack. But maybe he thinks that just if he makes 1 DT, obviously he will just auto-win the game. But again, I don't know if that's really the best way to approach this scenario.
And you see the Zealots have walked back to the base.
Yeah.
Try to defend this.
And they will. This is definitely going to get held because he can always pull his probes again if he has to. He has a cannon in his mineral line. And this Zerglinger just lost a bunch to kill a Cyber Core, but it doesn't really matter because the tech has already been decided. He actually didn't start the Dark Shrine yet, but I'd imagine he will in just a moment. But yeah, I mean, it does look a bit odd on both sides, but I think that at this point, Burnaby is just throwing units away, and he's not. I don't think he's going to end the game with a second cannon coming into play as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you about this, and I feel like this is one of those, you know, those cheese games where you have this plan. I'm gonna win with this proxy. I'm gonna go in the proxy. I'm gonna defeat my opponent. And holy shit, I did not defeat my opponent. This did not work out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, it's hard to know in this spot exactly how far ahead or how far behind you are because, you know, from Storm's perspective, his cheese didn't work. So of course he's gonna intuitively think, well, I should be behind, but he didn't actually see how much Burnaby didn't. You know, follow that up with macro and how far behind Burnaby was in regards to his economy. So it was a bit, you know, the blind fighting the blind in this case.
Yeah, and I actually think the DTs actually are going to work.
Yeah, they will.
Because, you know, you just see absolutely no tech coming up from Burnaby, and he thinks that he's up on top. He thinks that he has Storm here in his pocket.
Now, Burnaby did see the double gas, and he didn't actually see any more tech, so maybe he would have the foresight just to build one spore, which is really you don't need an evolution chamber to build a spore in Heart of the Swarm. So that's why the DT decision seems a bit odd, because you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket and just hoping that they don't build the spore. Because if he did, he just would not die to the DTs and actually be very, very far ahead.
Yeah, no, I saw those Zerglings actually were on their way to the bottom right corner, and then decided to not go there, and I was...
Well, you know, you can't really expect them to go there. It's really... I don't think any Zerg would really expect for the Proxy Dark Shrine right now. It's not really the most logical follow-up, just to put it bluntly. So, I mean, I don't blame him for not checking down there, but he is just checking around for proxy pylons, which is a good idea. I don't know about sending his whole pack of lings around. That may be a bit overkill, because you have to be able to receive units that might be coming across the map.
And the problem here for Storm is that actually he lost both his gateways, so he actually had to build new gateways in his base, and this is the first time he actually see warp gates.
It worked out all right, actually, because the Dark Shrine just recently finished up, so it will kind of time out with the completion of that. Now, the DTs are going in. There is no Spore Crawler, so, you know, at the end of the day, these might just end the game. But we'll see if Storm, maybe he'll see a Ripple and run drones around or something. He does not have a lair, so he needs to build a Spore. He's actually building one right now, so maybe
he saw the Ripple. I believe he saw the Ripple.
Yeah, he must have. But again, these DTs are going to just shut that down, and this is going to do so much damage.
And you see drones running away. Run for your lives, drones, run for your lives. And he started lair, and that's not going to finish.
The thing is, there's only 3 DTs. It is a lot, but not quite enough, and they are all together. So the Spore and the Natural and the third are going to finish. So while Storm might be able to take out the main base and some of the tech, he's actually not going to kill off Burnaby and also not kill off his economy. So Storm, by doing this decision of going for the fast tech instead of trying to stabilize and play an economic advantage, he's, I think, thrown away his lead, which he had for a short while. Rather than expanding on that economic advantage, he's kind of gone into a tech decision that doesn't really maybe mesh with his overall game plan.
And we'll see how this pans out. What we see is that Burnaby has actually taken a third base, so his economy not going to be hurt by this.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing.
But his tech is definitely going to lag.
It is going to sting not having, or losing the upgrade, not having a pool. The Roach Warren's still up, so he can make some roaches. But the thing is that there's really no army behind this. It's harassment from Storm. These DTs kind of had to end the game, I think, because if you look at his base, he still only has 3 gates. He's adding a couple more, but there's only 1 base economy here, and he's not going to be able to support a very big push against a 2-base Zerg. Like, I think with the spines already built and queens and spores and everything, Burnaby can hold any kind of delayed 1-base aggression that comes out, which, you know, if he does anything, it's probably going to be some kind of a +1 Archon Zealot all in. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard game for Storm, who's really low also in his economy, and he's a bit his supply block right now. And you see a run by here from these links. Are they going to go for the base?
Yeah, they are going to go in. There is a nice Sim City here, so I don't think he's going to want to stick around for too long, but he at least gets the scout that there's no natural, so he knows that all he has to do is just defend whatever's going to come up now, and he will just win the game. There's really no question about it. So yeah, he's building, he has some roaches, he's going to be building, he's actually droning now. An odd decision. I mean, he did see that there's no expansion, so maybe that's a bit of a mistake, but even with those drones coming out, I think he still probably has enough to defend.
Yeah, but he only has two extractors as well, so you think he really needs to put down 2 more extractors to bring up that gas, to take up the higher levels.
Yeah.
If he could just get some, I don't know, just a few roaches actually would suffice with 2,000 gold in the bank.
He does. He's definitely not utilizing his money as well as he can, and now he has to pull drones because with Blink done already, there's just no way for him to really get us around. And had he built, I don't know, 16 to 20 Zerglings instead of a bunch of drones, this would have looked a lot more one-sided. As it is, it's going to be pretty close, and I think that Storm may just have enough to kill him with the Blink tech and +1 done as well. Pretty sloppy game by Burnaby. I think he definitely had this game in the bag after Storm made that kind of weird decision to go for DTs.
And what happens right now is that Burnaby is going in with just a few units at a time, and that is not how you can how you defend a push like this. He's just going to lose every unit he sends in. Like 2 roaches go down. That's 1 more roach going down.
Unfortunately, this is just going to be the end of it. I mean, this was a really weird game. It's understandable that Burnaby was kind of unsure what he should be doing, but yeah, I mean, Storm, his DTs did a lot of damage, and I think that's really what it came down to. Taking out the main base, it really threw Burnaby off guard. He wasn't sure whether he should drone, whether he should keep macroing, and maybe underestimating just how all-in Storm was.
Yeah, and absolutely, and that drone decision he made to build all those drones.
There were like 8 or 9 drones being built. Imagine if instead those were 16 speedlings coming out instead. You saw it was already getting fairly close. If he had done a drone pull and had a bunch more lings, I think he could have taken those stalkers out.
Yeah, that would have been GG.
Yeah, he would have just had a critical mass.
The problem is he went for roaches. For some reason he decided to go up with a lot of roaches.
It's not too bad. The thing is that he just didn't have enough, he did not have enough units to actually take advantage. It didn't really matter if it were Roach Ling or just Ling, but he needed something, is really what it came down to. But yeah, it was a really weird game, I think, overall.
Yeah, it's a lot back and forth, but in the end, the Protoss prevailed.
That's what happened, though. I mean, whenever you get a game like this, it's just kind of inevitable that someone is going to get confused and probably not make the best decision. But it just, that's one of the hardest things about StarCraft 2, is that you need to be able to know not only what your strategy is, but what you do when you're severely thrown off track, and how do you even gauge who's ahead between you or your opponent. And
there was not much scouting done from Barnaby. He did see this. He did see the base. He saw that there were no units in it, and then he decided to. I will just simply build a bunch of drones and gain the economic advantage.
The first thing he did was just build all those lings, and he went in. He basically went all in with lings. I think he did enough damage to the point where he was not as all in as maybe he kind of evened it out, especially with that tech decision of not getting. What do you call it? Not getting his expansion up and going for Dark Shrine.
Absolutely.
But we will be hopping into another game right now, and I think it's going to be...
it's a Pizza Pie Bob versus Cookie, and this Pizza Pie Bob is from Karolinska Institutet, and Cookie is from KTH, also KTH. And this is the first game between these two players. They haven't seen each other play yet.
It will be actually from the competitive bracket, so that means that both these players are at least Masters League. I think they are actually both Master League, and whereas last game we saw a bit of a crazy game, maybe some unconventional decisions. I think this game is going to be a bit more standard and something that, if you're looking to try to learn a bit more about the game and how it plays out, this could be a bit more insightful, I think.
Absolutely, and these people are just going to do Cookie and Pizza Pie Bob. Just going to write a little bit to each other. Just going to mess around a little bit in the chat. And yeah, I believe you. This is probably going to be a much closer game than the last one we saw.
Yeah, and so this is going to be an Akalon Waste. This map is no longer in the ladder map pool, although UniSL is still using it, obviously, because it was in the map pool until just 1 week ago. And I think that this is probably going to just become a macro game. I mean, this map doesn't really lend itself very well to anything too crazy. I mean, yeah, Proxy Stargate actually is not too bad. You can hide it for the Protoss behind the Terran base. It's very close. Though the fact that it's on this map means that it was before the patch. So oracles on this map are probably going to be at the lower acceleration and lower speed than they are currently. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it should work, because the patch came out with the new map pool. So
yeah, and what that means is that Oracle not going to be as efficient as it is right
although
now.
Although still very good. I mean, it's certainly still an option, and we will see double gas coming down for the Protoss. It's actually this is a pretty quick double gas, so he does have the option to go for that. Likewise, he could also go for some kind of blink all-in. It's very popular on this map. And that positioning of the second pylon actually makes me think it probably will be a Twilight Council, because you don't usually build your second pylon quite out to this extent unless you want to hide a tech building or something like that. But we'll see what actually happens. Maybe I'm just spouting bullshit at the moment.
No, I don't think so.
That's what I would do anyway. So.
Yeah, so we see that the Terran is going to scout, so Pizza Pie Bob want to see what's up, and he's going to move across the map. And what do you think he'll react? How will he react when he sees this?
He's going to see the double gas. There's only 2 guys in each gas, so it definitely won't be a Stargate build, that's for sure. You need a lot of gas for that. And getting that quick Zealot out, actually, a bit of an odd choice. He is going to... Okay, you know what? It's actually not an odd choice, because you do want to build a Zealot, but then you usually just cancel it if they are not trying to block your expansion. So we are going to see a cancel in that Zealot and getting the Nexus out as fast as possible. And that's just, like I was saying before, how at the higher levels you see this kind of a... more of a reactive play, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Building that Zealot preemptively because you are expecting the Terran player to block your expansion with a building, and then when you see that they're not doing that, or the SCV is up in your main, you just cancel the Zealot. You save yourself 100 minerals that you wouldn't otherwise really need.
And that's the high-level plays we see here.
Yes,
we see the good players actually do that. Actually, a lot of players who actually I have not thought about that. That is one thing I did not think about. That's why these players are... well, I'm not sure exactly how high they are, if they're masters or...
Yeah, they are master level player. It seemed that way anyway early on. So just going back into their builds, I want to look at what the Terran players did, because he took... It looks like he went for a Reaper expand into his reactor, this is a very standard and safe opening against a Protoss player. Not quite as greedy as the Command Center first, but still very safe, and you get a nice scout. So let's see what I missed what he actually saw. He did see the robotics, and like I said, he did proxy the Twilight Council. Well, not proxy it, but he built it a little bit away from his main nexus. And this is actually not quite the blink all-in I was thinking it could be, but more of a reactive. I think it's going to be more of a reactive play. Probably DT with this Warp Prism coming in. Because what you can do with this build is get some DTs, drop them around the Terran base, and if they have a turret here at the ramp, you just bypass that and drop them into the main. And it's not all in either, because you have your expansion quickly too. And what you can do is either transition into Colossus or High Templar. Either of them very strong choices.
So what we see here is that Cookie actually haven't scouted a lot, because he knows that whatever he's going to be up against, he's going to be able to transition into a counter for that immediately.
Exactly, exactly. And he did see, by seeing that early Reaper, you kind of know that the Terran is playing a reactive, safe-ish game themselves. Usually you wouldn't go Reaper opening into some kind of weird, like, proxy factory or something like that. You're usually saving that gas for the all-in in that situation. So I think it's just fine.
And we're seeing the Warp Prism actually going to hide at the bottom left corner. It's going to move in as soon as the Dark Shrine is ready.
It wasn't timed out exactly perfectly. Maybe building that Warp Prism just a little bit too early. Sometimes you want to squeeze 2 observers before it. In this case, I think he just built 1. But it's going to be just fine. He's going to get in there. And at the same time, he has his observer in the front. And Well, actually, there's already turrets down in the mineral lines for the Terran player, so I'm not sure. Maybe he must have had some idea what was going on. Maybe, you know what it was? I think he saw the quick 3rd and 4th gas at the natural base and figured that there's a high probability of something like this happening. And building those 2 turrets is not going to really set him that far behind. He will start getting some kills, though, since the army wasn't back here.
Yeah, exactly. And these Dark Templar are actually going to do a lot of damage since there are no units here to defend this. So no matter that they can be spotted by those turrets, they're actually going to be able to do a lot. But you see this scan.
No, there's no scan.
There's no scan.
The thing is that he used his mules because he figured he was safe after building those turrets. But the funny thing is that the detection range in those does not actually cover the whole base. So he killed an add-on. Now he's killing some free units. So I'd say these DTs are not doing too badly. I mean, probably not as much as he was expecting. But considering that he wasn't all in by any means, and he's actually transitioning now into Colossus, it's not too bad. The one thing I am a bit concerned about is that this Colossus transition is a bit late, and you can see the Protoss gas bank is getting up past 500. So this, I honestly think that the first Colossus should have been started by now. And maybe this is just an indication that the Protoss player was spending so much of his APM on microing those DTs, maybe neglecting just to make sure that his macro was totally up to check, because you see his chrono boost also getting a bit, they're getting maxed. You never want that to happen because obviously your energy can never go past 100.
Exactly. So once you reach max, you're gonna start losing energy, and this is actually something we see a lot of. No matter how well players, how good players are, they're actually sometimes gonna do these make these kind of mistakes.
Yeah, not necessarily a mistake though. It could. I think it was a conscious decision of his to actually focus more attention on those DTs and try to get a little bit more worth out of them, and that can be a good decision. To even if you know that your macro might slip, it's a trade-off, and you have to make that decision whether or not that trade-off is worthwhile. So we'll see though, because right now, since he wasn't really macroing to the best of his, to the fullest extent, he is going to start taking some damage from this bio counterattack, and he will have some DTs to hold it off, but it looks like he did save his scan before running in.
DTs are going to be focused down, so these DTs are going to go on Colossus. Precisely wrong moment.
That really hurts.
Go down.
Yeah, that's really painful to lose the first Colossus like that, especially when the Colossus is, in my opinion, a bit late. And I don't know, I think that with no upgrades in the way, Protoss is not looking very healthy right now. Terran already has, I think he has his +1, and yeah, he has his +1 done already, and he can start his +1 armor now. Even though his factory is obviously super late, his medevacs are nowhere near, you know, getting started. The only advantage for Protoss right now is economy, and I don't know, I think if Terran can realize this, he can do an SCV pull before the Colossus count gets past 2. Like, if he goes in the next minute or so, he may actually be able to just kill the 3rd base, or even just kill the Protoss outright.
Absolutely, and we see Cookie here decides to build this expansion, and he's not going to start produce a huge army. So he's still actually going to just try to macro out this game, and he's going to be fairly certain that he's going to be safe from this.
You know, I feel like he's giving away his advantage though by doing that, because the thing is, in StarCraft, oftentimes when you get an advantage, you need to build upon that in some way and make it an even stronger advantage. So if you realize that your advantage lies in tech or in army, if you suddenly decide to start going into your economy, that means that you're kind of spreading yourself maybe too thin, or at least you're giving up some of your tempo.
Yeah, this is a problem you see in a lot of games actually, where players try to fulfill many roles at the same time. They try to do all of these things at the same time, instead of just thinking that I'm ahead in tech, I'm going to keep on being ahead in tech, I'm going to build my army, I'm going to win with my tech. Instead you think, no, wait, I want to have some economy as well. And
PvT especially is such a tempo-based matchup. You'll see that when the turn starts dropping the Protoss, even if things are just 30 seconds earlier than the Protoss is prepared for, it just starts snowballing, and it gets worse and worse and worse. So, but now that the Terran has decided that he's going to not do any more aggression, the Protoss has ample time to set up his 3rd base. He's getting cannons. He's going to be totally safe. He's even going to have Storm ready. So that excess of gas that he had earlier, which was a disadvantage. You know, having money and not spending it is a disadvantage. He's going to be able to spend all that now, and I'd say that Perus is going to be in not a bad spot at all.
Absolutely. We're going to see him build up this army here with 3 bases, and he's going to pull out with all of this tech. He's going to have Storm on his Templars, and he's really going to be ahead both now in economy and his tech.
Yes, he's definitely now able to stabilize. And the Terran is not able to land his 3rd base either, so we saw that he got that 3rd command center a couple of minutes ago, only just now landing it and going to saturate that base.
And we still have a Warp Prism here in the bottom left corner of the Terran base. It's going to go in again, but this time actually the Stellas are going to get stuck, so they are not going to...
It doesn't actually... I think this is actually more of like a scouting decision than it is anything else. So, you know, because the Warp Prism doesn't actually have to do damage. It's already ahead in workers, ironically. So I think it just kind of a way to check up on, see, well, what are you actually up to?
And what he sees is that there are actually not many army units in the opponent's base. Pizza Pie Bob does not have that much. So he's actually going to feel kind of comfortable here with his army, I think.
Yeah, most certainly. I think he will. And, you know, if Protoss decides to attack into that choke point, that could be a big mistake where Pizza Pie Bob manages to get a good trade. But with Storm done now and no sign of Ghost Tech, I think the Ghost Academy just now finishing, but still the Mobius reactor is going to take a while to finish and the Ghosts themselves are going to take a while to come out. It's not looking too great for him. And his 4th base still nowhere to be seen as far as I know.
No, we still have no 4th base, but I feel like we're going to have to see Cookie go do something with this very soon, because he really has the upper hand, but as long as if he keeps waiting, he's going to lose more in his advantage. He's actually going to see Ghosts going to pop out. We're going to see them get that energy point where they actually can snipe those Templars, and it's going to be a good some EMPs, and it's actually going to be a problem for me if he keeps on waiting like this. And why do you think that Cookie keeps waiting?
I don't know. I mean, well, for him, I don't blame him so much for waiting, because he knows that his 2-2 right now is on the way, and he probably wants that to finish at least before engaging the Terran. So then that's just it's a common time to hit in this matchup is when the Protoss is 2-2 and Archons and Storm and Colossus. That's a nice place to be. So I'm not too concerned about that, especially since Terran hasn't been putting on any aggression. He doesn't really feel pressure to make something happen. But this is kind of interesting, actually. There's a Hellbat drop trying to get in here. Maybe he is actually mixing in Hellbats, which is something that you don't see many Terrans doing in this matchup nowadays. But I mean, they are quite good against the charge lots, and they get healed from medevacs. So
yeah, I think what's happening here is that Pizza Bob, he really knows that Pizza Pie Bob knows that he has to do something.
Yes.
And you know, those Hellbats are actually quite proficient at killing workers. So if he can just get a drop and get some workers, that's going to give him something.
That's a really good point, though, I think, because, like you said, he knows he needs to get it back ahead somehow. And maybe this kind of an unconventional Hellbat timing drop, it might just be enough to throw... maybe he can sneak in there because it's so unexpected. But unfortunately for him, I think that Cookie was playing this super safe, even building those cannons much, much earlier than he probably would have actually needed them.
And Cookie's going to pull out now with almost a full supply, and here's actually a little bit of supply blocked right here at 98.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a full supply. That's going to hurt him, of course. But
this could be scary, though, because if you look at how he's going to run into this, there is a nice concave and bunkers already set up, and the Vikings are probably going to get a couple volleys off on the Colossus. So it is very hard to use High Templar, like upper ramp and offensively. They're more of a defensive unit. So... ooh, I don't know though. It looks like Pizza Bob
might actually be hurting. Oh, and Pizza Bob is actually going to be get caught. And Cookie's Templars are going to get caught and not going to be able to pull all those doors. But there's still so many units here, and those units are going to go down the body of the Terran. It's going to take so much damage. It's actually going to be a very, very close game. The Stellas are being warped in and are going to go all ahead on those Marauders. And I think this actually will be the win for Cookie, but it was really, really close.
It was, but you know what sealed the deal was that about 5 or 6 Ghosts just died before using any of their energy, because they were standing in the front. So imagine, though, if he had those Ghosts still alive, he would have had way more EMPs. I think he would have actually held this, because, like I was saying, the only chance for Cookie to really throw the game would be to attack into a fortified Terran position.
Absolutely.
And it looks like he is going to get repelled, but with these consistent warp-ins coming in, I think he has enough gas to actually morph in like 6 Archons or something like that. So if he does so, he may just be able to end this quickly now that the Ghosts are in very low number.
Yeah, and Cookie's gonna try this, but there's gonna be a nice EMP, gonna snipe half the HP of all of those zealots. So there's actually gonna be a little bit of problem here for Cookie. He's gonna have to abandon his position.
I don't know. The gas has all been spent, but I'm trying to figure out where the hell. He must have warped in a bunch of Templars somewhere. Yeah, back at the natural.
Back at the base.
Okay, yeah. So this is what I was saying. He realized that he's killed off so many ghosts, and that there's only a limited number of barracks that can really be producing on 3 bases. So you can't build your Marine Marauder and Ghost at the same time on this sort of infrastructure. So building these Archons, really nice move. The thing is, he needs to keep this tempo going. Archons, after a reinforcement wave of Archons is a tempo-based play. You do that when you want to kill the turn right now. Otherwise, it's better to have the High Templar because they build up energy and are better a couple minutes from now.
Yeah, and Cookie's still gonna he's not gonna pull out right now, so he's still gonna wait in the space. And I'm not sure, like you say, he really needs to put the tempo up. He really needs to put the pressure up on Pizza Pie Bob, and he's not gonna be able to do that if he's sitting around in this space.
This is just, I think he wasted a bit too much gas in those Archons and then not doing something with them, because it would have been better to have, you know, 4 or 5 Templars with full energy by now, especially as he's securing his base. This drop could do quite a bit of damage since, you know, these Archons and the Stalkers, well, the Stalkers can blink, but the Archons and Colossus are so slow that he's going to lose quite a few probes before getting back there.
Yeah, and this is actually going to be able to snipe that.
Nice. I think that was maybe a bit of a mistake, pathing that medevac up towards the Templar. He maybe have been able to sneak by, but I mean, the 4th base is actually not saturated, and I think if you look at things now, the Pizza Pie Bob is actually stabilized his economy and come strongly ahead. If you look at the workers, he's 75 to 52. So doing, I think, a bit of work with those drops. Not too bad at all.
Absolutely, and this is the part of the game where those mules are really going to be important for him, because he's not going to be able. He's not going to have to build more zealots and more SCVs. I mean, to actually mine it. He's going to be able to use those mules instead, which means he will have more of an army.
The funny thing about mules is that they're actually good in every part of the game, more or less.
Well, yes, but this is actually the part where
I
understand what I mean.
Yeah,
this is going to be really the time to shine, because he'll be able to have more of a supply in his army.
Certainly, and this is, you know, he built quite a bit of infrastructure in his base earlier, so now he's actually able to build those mineral-heavy units like the Ghosts, which and the Marauders and Ghosts, which are going to tank those Storms and Colossus and just be a bit meatier, I think, in this army.
Yeah, and all of those Ghosts with almost full energy, so this is going to be a really difficult battle here for Cookie.
Yeah, but look at so many freaking Ghosts. You know, after losing those Ghosts earlier, I'm surprised to see so many mixed in here. And, you know, with these Hellbats mixed in, he's actually going to have a nice time if he gets the right EMPs down. But he does need to kite back. He doesn't want to let these Colossus get any big hits in. The Vikings are focused firing, but what do you think? I mean, is he going to clean this up?
Yeah, he's going to clean this up, no problem. You saw absolutely no storms, because those Templars were nowhere close to that battle. Those Templars were too far away, so we're actually going to see absolutely no storms going down on all those.
It's such a shame they were high on energy, but I think he was intimidated by that huge Ghost clump. He figured he couldn't get in there. But
yeah, but the Ghosts actually wasted their EMPs a little bit now, so Templars are going to come in and going to try to storm this. And all the Templars are hit at once by that EMP, all of those Templars losing all the energy, and I think it's actually going to be GG for Cookie. He has 97 supply to 166, and I don't think he can do anything with this.
That was just a critical misstep for him. You know, had he split those Ghosts, or those Templar around and maybe come in from different angles at once, maybe he could have landed those Storms, but just, you know, this is the kind of attack that a Terran makes that you just need to overwhelm before it gets out of control, which it is right now. These bio units, while they may get cleaned up by reinforcements, they've done already more than enough damage. They've killed off almost all the economy. They've killed off all the expensive product units. And Terran just needs to remax now, or not remax, but just reinforce, and he'll definitely win this game. The little counterattack that Cookie tried to do is just not going to kill this 4th base.
Yeah, and look at all of those mules mining, and there's going to be so much minerals here for Pizza Pie Bob. Is going to be able to reinforce. Meanwhile, while Cookie is at so low supply and he still has absolutely no minerals.
He's even loaded up his Vikings. Oh, his Vikings died in the medevac, which you don't often see. A bit weird of a decision, but it's a bit funny, I guess.
Yeah, I think Pizza Pie Bob is just joking around right now. I think Pizza Pie Bob has this in the pocket, and he knows this.
Yeah, he's even going to pull some boys along here for the ride, because he knows that, whatever. He can just end the game now if he wants. He's like 40 workers ahead.
Yeah, so I think we're actually going to see a GG very soon here. Pizza Pie Bob going to move up with this Bio Ball. Is going to completely obliterate these Archons.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this was a pretty back-and-forth game, all things considered. I mean, I think just like the last game we saw, this was a kind of weird one where I think neither player really could tell which one was ahead between them. And so maybe turtling when they should have kept up the tempo, or vice versa. And it was a role reversal we saw. You know, the Terran at first finding himself in a weird spot and going for his macro rather than continuing his pressure. And then right after that, the Protoss player not keeping up his aggression when he was just about to win the game, killing all the ghosts. That's the time you can really end the game.
Yeah, I don't really understand why he would just, you know, sit in his space like the way he did. But I believe that, like you say, he didn't really know. He had no idea that he was that ahead.
Yeah,
and he couldn't really capitalize on this.
It's so hard to actually come to that conclusion when you're in the heat of the moment, to be able to think, oh, well, he's only on 3 base. I just killed his army and his ghosts. He can't rebuild both of those at the same time. So in that position, remaking an army and attacking would have been perhaps the better move. But in any case, I think, you know, Pizza Pie Bob did do a good job of stabilizing after that very scary moment. Instead of just kind of maybe getting intimidated or losing track of his macro, he just stabilized and made his army, and he knew that he could come out ahead.
Yeah, and here the ghosts are moving up. They're going to be AC EMPs and snipes going down. But actually, these ghosts are going to fed back. So all of these ghosts are going to disappear in a second. And then you see the more powerful Archons going up. But this kite is going to be too strong, and these units are going to go down.
And Pizza Pie Bob not displaying the best use of ghost control in this game. Several times we've seen him just kind of keeping them in front as the tanks, which maybe is not the best option. I would have actually liked to see him get cloaked this game because he's so far ahead. And the observers, you know, you can just snipe the observer, and then those ghosts are going to just do all their EMPs no matter what.
But Cookie is doing a really good job here, staying in this game. He's
not giving up, that's for sure. I mean, no reason to give up at this point. You don't. This game has gone back and forth several times, and there's no. I mean, he doesn't really know that there's like a 5th base landing already, or a 6th base rather. But you know, it's good not to give up quite yet when you don't know exactly if the Terran's going to continue making more mistakes.
And we see that the mineral cap here is it's actually fairly it's not that even actually, but it's actually going to be more for Cookie right now.
Yeah, certainly. And getting double robotics Colossus production now, maybe he just realizes that the Viking count has been pretty low for a long time, and he's also noticed that his opponent has been making so many ghosts, they're not really utilizing it so well. So maybe an Archon Colossus Zealot army, if this keeps going the way it has been, could be enough to kill the army of Pizza by Bob, and then maybe go for a counter all in. But we'll see. I mean, with this additional 6th and 7th, is that a 7th base? 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, he lost the 3rd, so I guess it's the 6th base. But with this many bases completed for the Terran, I don't know. I think as long as he makes more barracks, he should be able to reinforce to his heart's content.
Absolutely. And Cookie's sitting only now on 3 bases, and there's not actually 2 mining bases, so the saturation is pretty low. So
the barracks count is fairly low, though. If you take a quick look, only 7 barracks for like 1, 2, 3, 4 mining bases. I think he could stand like another 4 or 5 barracks in that mix. Just saying. I mean, that's the one scary thing. That's the one scary thing I think that Terran could face, is if he does lose his army, and even though he has such superb macro going for him right now and a crazy economy, he doesn't have the ability to actually reinforce.
So yeah, we're gonna have to see him put down a few more barracks. Probably gonna happen, but I feel like he's in such a good position. Watching his bank here going up above 2k minerals, and meanwhile watching Cookie here on only 400 minerals, 500 gas. This is not looking good for him.
It's not, but I mean the army supplies are not drastically different. I think it's still a fight that Cookie could win. Let me just check. The upgrades are, evened out by now. It's not too surprising. I don't think he's bothered with his shields, though. No, I guess he really can't afford that because he's just now resecured his 4th base and starting to get his 5th. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily over yet. It is a lot of ghosts, but the Viking count is not that scary.
And we're going to have to see a lot of damage done with those Colossi since the Vikings are so low. But on the other hand, we see this economy. I mean, if this just gets an even... If we get an even fight, it still means that Pizza Pie Bob wins. What we're going to have to see is Cookie completely
But not
finding...
necessarily, though. That's what I was saying, because he's only able to make units that have 7 barracks at once, which, you know, a Terran relies on that tempo much more, I think, than the Protoss does at this stage of the game, because the Protoss can easily reinforce with 15 gateways and 2 robotics facilities. It's not going to be a problem to re-macro and re-max.
The problem here for Cookie is that he actually has very low economy.
Yeah, that's true. So he... I mean, his gas is getting a bit higher. With his 5th base now getting saturated, he may be...
Actually, this is the fight, and those ghosts are going to get obliterated in a second, but actually land a few EMPs before that. But these Colossi are going to work now, and there are no Vikings. Only 2 Vikings, I believe, are being shooting off these Colossi. So these Colossi are actually doing so much damage.
He got amazing EMPs off, getting every single ghost. But like I was saying, all he needs is Archon Colossus to beat the Terran army. He didn't even need High Templar in this army. So this is exactly what I was afraid of. No way to remax after losing his army, and Protoss is almost certainly going to win this game now, because you can't build the barracks now and hope for them to kick in. Only 9 barracks is not enough.
And absolutely no gas for Pizza Pie Bob while Cookie moves in with this really scary looking army. What happened here, actually, we saw those ghosts once again, just moving up and getting obliterated in a second. And
they did get the EMPs that I think he was, like, he saw that big clump of High Templar, and he got about 5 or 6 Templar decked down to 0 energy, which is, of course, an amazing thing in and of itself. But with this amount of Archon Colossus, those Templar actually weren't even the scariest part of this army.
No, actually, these Colossi have been doing so much damage, almost full energy once, full shields once again.
And especially with only 1 starport having been building this whole game, it just was not nearly enough.
Actually, I can't believe this happening. I was so certain that Pizza Pie Bob would actually grab this win, but this is a GG, and Pizza Pie Bob is out.
He certainly had a chance to... He had several chances, I think, that he could have won that game, but getting a bit, maybe second-guessing himself in the heat of the moment, getting a bit concerned, and it is very scary, you know, whenever a player in Protoss versus Terran goes and attacks the other player, there is a very good chance that you just have a bad engagement and lose everything, and then the other player can counter it and just kill you. So that's just the nature of a highly tempo-based matchup like that. It can be daunting if you're not super comfortable with the position you're in, that you do fall behind like that or give away an advantage that you once had.
Because Pizza Pie Bob has such a huge advantage of that middle engagement where he where he won that, and he managed to even do some damage on both the economy and the tech of his opponent. Yeah, so that's actually was a really great game. But we're going to move into another game now, and this is going to be
Zerg versus Zerg, I believe, and it's another one of the casual league games. So we don't know. We'll see what leagues they're placed in this season, but it means they're going to be below Masters League at least. So you know, ironically, sometimes those games can be more funny than the Master League games once.
Yeah, actually. So we're going to put on funny glasses right now, and we're going to watch this game between Bman and TVT.
But he is going to be playing ZVZ.
Yeah, CVC with TVT and Bman. So that's going to be what we watch right now. And we're in the game here with Bman up in the upper left corner, and his opponent, the other Zerg, TVT, in the bottom right corner, and CVC. This is such a hard matchup. What do you think about this? Yeah,
and you know, we're seeing Accolon again, so I'm kind of anticipating another crazy long game. But Zerg versus Zerg, it is kind of I think it's a matchup that's being figured out a bit more than it was earlier in HOTS, where it was just kind of craziness, Muta versus Muta wars. It has stabilized since then and diversified rather, because you know, they buffed the Spore Crawler at one point to make it do more damage to biological units. So one Spore Crawler just freaking obliterates a Mutalisk. Like in just a few shots, it'll be down to almost no health. So really, if you have those Spore Crawlers in the right position, Mutalisks are nowhere near as scary as they once were. Now, that's led to more Roach-based play, I think, and more aggressive play. 10 pools, Speedling, Baneling all-ins. Those are also quite common in the high-level Korean metagame. But that being said, this is not the high-level Korean metagame, so who knows what we're going to see.
Yeah, and I hope to see some sort of cheesiness going down here. And I've seen such crazy Zerg versus Zerg games in my days with StarCraft, so I'm really not sure what I have to expect about this game. But I really want to see something crazy going down. I want to see some cheese. I want to see something really, really awesome.
So one of the main fundamentals of Zerg versus Zerg is that scouting is always a bit different than the other matchups because, you know, you always have these overlords out on both sides, and the anti-air is going to be that queen coming out, which doesn't really go very far off the creep. So actually scouting is usually quite good on both ends and usually very even in Zerg versus Zerg for at least the first, you know, 8 to 10 minutes, I'd say. Until at least one player decides that they're going to send their queen out and deny the other player's scouting.
So we see Bman, he's actually heckling his opponent a little bit and asking, did you get were you surprised now when he saw his expansion? And we're not sure if we're surprised or not.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to see a little bit later expansion going down from TVT.
Yeah, he did a nice job actually blocking that hatchery. So considering that they went for fairly similar builds, I mean, well, not actually too similar because the pool first was on, sorry, what's his name? TVT went for the pool first, whereas Bman went for the hatch first and gas and pool. I mean, they're both going for a fast expansion, macro play. Neither are all-inning, but this is going to favor Bman, certainly, because he's not getting all-in and he got his faster expansion. But anyway, what do you actually like? If you could pick, I don't know, which tech path would you be most interested in seeing from either player?
I'm actually not sure about this, but I want to see a bit of Roach Hydra going out here, and I want to see see this get into the late games where we actually see those Broodlords also getting into the game. But then, of course, there's the Viper who actually can ruin the game for Broodlords.
The Viper certainly is very good at you know, a mix of Viper Corruptor actually does a great job at that because you pull those Broodlords away from their fortified underbellies, if you will. You know, they're usually sitting on top of some spores or spines. So if you can pull them, yank them out from there, snipe them down with the Corruptors, that's a very effective way of dealing with that strategy. So, you know, it certainly could wind up with a split map scenario, though, with one player going, or both players going for like Swarm Host, Broodlord kind of a mix, with their own Vipers, and then, I don't know, I've never really seen Vipers pulling other Vipers, but I suppose it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I would like to see that, actually. I have some Vipers here, so I heard you like Vipers, I put some Vipers on your Vipers, so you can Viper your Vipers while I Viper your Vipers.
What happens actually if, like, one Viper Vipers another, and then another one comes in and actually yanks it mid-flight? Like, is that even possible?
I'm not sure. It might actually create a singularity. It just engulfs the whole universe.
You get some kind of like three-way, like pulling each other in different directions and just continual.
That would actually be kind of cool to see. They just pull each other all around. I don't think actually that's gonna happen.
Like a little carousel of madness there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that end up like in a singularity, like spinning faster and faster, just bringing all those units in. I'm fairly certain this is not gonna happen in this game.
The Zerg has been waiting so long to have a vortex of their own after Wings of Liberty, right?
Yeah, so they're gonna do some sort of a little bit of Superman thingy and just run around really, really fast.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we have a couple Banelings out parked outside of the base of TVT. Now he's going to start trying to semi-wall this off with his Evo chamber, and he's got a good number of links, but not too many Banelings actually getting made. I think he was just kind of posturing, maybe faking a heavy Baneling follow-up.
Yeah, we got just a few Banelings, 3 Banelings coming out here from TVT, and he's probably just defensive.
Banelings. Yeah, definitely defensive Banelings, especially with the positioning of the queens here going out on the creep. He wants to deny the scouting and just spread his own creep. And
oh, that Overlord is so close to the queen. Like, come back here! Come back here! I really, really want to kill you!
He's not going to get it.
It's not going to happen. No,
that queen actually, probably a bit too far out now. He doesn't want to get too far away from home.
I think actually I forgot about that. Queen is just going to be standing there chilling around, hoping for that Overlord to get back.
So I think this was actually a bit of a mind game, though, from Bman. He did do that little fake posture there. I think he got an overreaction out of his opponent because he's ahead in workers and he started his +1 armor, whereas his opponent only has his +1 attack. So whereas he'll be at 1-1, his opponent will only be at 1-0 for his range anyway. So that means that he's probably going to be going into Roach Hydra, I think.
Absolutely, and with seeing those banelings also coming out of TVT, it feels like a fairly safe way. Just produce a few roaches, a few hydras, just keep those hydras away from those banelings, no problem. And you're actually going to beat this army if of what he's seen so far from TVT.
Ooh, look at this though. Nidus Worm getting dropped down here in the main base or in the natural of Nableman. And a bit interesting to see what he'll actually do with that, because there is an Overlord scouting the back of the base here, so it should be able to see a Nidus getting dropped there. But, you know, maybe he'll just use this as more of a, you know, something later on in the game. You don't have to use Nidus as an all-in per se if you get one, especially not at this stage of the game. It's not like putting him all in or anything like that. But
yeah, but Nableman has this Overseer for that extra movement buff, and he's going to try to scout if he can find some sweet spot where he can put down a sneaky Nidus Worm.
The thing is, though, that I think that TVT, he's been playing defensive so far, so I don't really expect a Nidus play to do too much damage, because it's not like he's taking a greedy third base or he's attacking, you know, into the base of Nableman or something. Like, he's not going to get out of position, in other words.
What I'm hoping to see here, actually, is a bit more of a reactive play come out of Nableman, where he watches his opponent just move across the map, and then he drops his Nidus, and when he moves back again, and then he can just waiting
for that moment to strike, and then even if it's not some critical damage, maybe he can run in, get some drone kills, head back out, and you're kind of forcing your opponent into a weird spot where they're like, do I keep up my attack, or do I go home and take this threat out?
Yeah, and we see here the Nidus has been dropped. It's actually just going to drop a few banelings. Those banelings actually going to do a lot of damage, but if you rogue to survive this, so a new Nidus Worm is going to be produced, and this actually did a lot of damage on those 30s. I did not expect those banelings to pop out.
That was a really weird decision. I mean, I think he honestly should have just pulled his drones and shut that down so that it certainly wouldn't have finished, but letting that first round of roaches out and actually splitting those banelings, I mean, I guess he didn't really need banelings against roaches, but it was a weird decision. And now he's not mining for about 20 seconds before.
And the Queen is going to go down, and a few drones have been dropped too. So these roaches are just going to run around. They're losing one more baneling to these roaches. And another Nidus Worm is on the middle of the map, just waiting here.
So even though that wasn't the best defense on TVT's end, I think it was still good enough, because he's tried, I think, to throw in 3 Nidus Worms. And all he really killed were some lings, roaches, and delayed mining. And if you look at the worker count, it's 53 now for TVT versus 37 for his opponent. So I don't know if he got enough damage done to actually justify that. There is a group of roaches coming up here, and I think he's going to scare these units away. Actually, with his upgrades evened out, though, I think that the Hydras can roll do enough DPS to kill it.
Absolutely, these Hydras are going to go and work on these roaches. The roaches are going to go down. It's actually going to lose a few more roaches than I thought, TVT, but TVT is still going to be able to hold this and will have the economic advantage as they are.
Does, because he has his third base done now, and he's getting it saturated, whereas his opponent's only now just starting to build his expansion. So this Nidus play, I think we can safely say that it was a failure in this game. He had a nice idea, maybe, but I think the implementation, the timing of it, perhaps had he thrown that down after his third base and gone for more of a mid-game Nidus counter-attacking style, that could have been a bit more effective.
As we were talking about before, the reactive sort of play where he just watches the minimap, since he actually, he doesn't have, his creep spread is pretty non-existent, but if he had those creep tumors on the map and he got that map, the map advantage, then he could actually just wait and watch his opponent move out and then react with a Nidus network, and therefore forcing his opponent to split up his army, which you do not always want to do in these kind of matchups.
And he's, Nableman's in a really tough spot now, because he needs to continue attacking up so that he can stand even ground. He needs to get some infestors or hydras out, something so he can actually get a cost-efficient engagement. But the problem with that is that he can't continue his upgrades now, because he just doesn't have the economy to do so. So he's going to fall behind in his upgrades, and I fear for him that now this game is spiraling out of control for him.
What I hope to see here actually is Nableman keeping on going with his Nidus play. I mean, he committed a lot into this, and he's already behind. He can't really just sit back and be like, I'm going to do some more tech. I'm going to gain the advantage here by doing exactly the same thing you are doing, only slightly later.
I mean, he
really has to do something with his Nidus.
He has a few options. That is definitely one of them, trying to do some damage and get himself back in the game. But honestly, I feel like the way that TVT's been fairly well at defending so far, that the best thing that he can hope for is just for TVT to take a really bad fight and run into fungals or something, or on the other end of the spectrum to actually just turtle up maybe a bit too hard and give Nabelman the time he needs to kind of get on even ground.
And the problem here for Nabelman, what I feel at least, is that he's losing so much gas.
Yeah.
Producing all of these Nidus. I think we've seen 5 Nidus worms put down so far, and that's a huge amount of gas he spent for actually gaining nothing.
Now this is interesting. He's actually getting his Locust upgrade now. So, you know, in a way, maybe that maybe makes sense, because he realizes that his only hope now is to just go super turtly and hope that maybe his opponent gets overeager and throws an army away into a bad position, right? Like that could maybe give him a chance to come back. But I don't know if Infestors might have been a better choice than the Locusts, because, you know, especially attacking up into a ramp, that's a great opportunity to just fungal everything into place.
And we're not going to see that happen this game.
No, no, certainly not. And the Hive actually already getting started for his opponent, so the upgrades are going to be 3-3 versus 1-1 if he's not careful. And that's not going to be nice at all.
But finally, with his third base up for Nabelman, the economy is now, for the first time in a while, fairly even. So if he can hold on to this...
He's still behind in workers, so when it comes time to saturate that fourth, he's going to be still behind. But yeah, he is getting the first step back into this game. I'd say, yeah. But now he has to build a lot of Hydras. He's still just now starting his +2 attack upgrade. And actually getting his... No, that's his opponent getting Adrenal Glands. Okay, so it looks like his opponent's going to start switching maybe into Ultras or something like that. Ultra Infestor, which is not a bad choice either against someone who's going delayed Roach Hydra Infestor, or... You know, he got that Locust upgrade, but I haven't seen one Swarm Host being built yet, so
and I get the feeling actually that Tivo is doing everything that we want Nabelman to do. Tivo's actually doing that. We're seeing those Infestors, we're seeing those higher tech, we're seeing all these bases being put down, and I feel like Nabelman is in a really, really bad spot here. He did his little cheesy sort of play with the Nidus Farm. It didn't pan out, and he got it scouted very early. And I believe losing those Zerlings were not a part that TVT were actually expecting to face those Banelings. But he actually got out on top of that, and now we'll see Nabelman is getting just further and further behind.
Certainly, yeah. Nabelman, he has just been one step behind, or even 2 steps behind this whole game, in my opinion. I just don't know. Like his economy is just so far behind. He's behind in supply. He's behind in upgrades.
No creep spread.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's the biggest deal now, the creep spread, but yeah, it is actually.
Well, his Hydra is going to be really, really slow.
Yeah.
So those fungus, those Infestors are really going to.
That's true. That's certainly a good point.
So easy to catch those Hydras.
Yes, it's gonna. The positioning is gonna favor our Blue Zerg in almost every situation, I think, just because he can't get into position more easily on his own turf. And certainly, with his Spire coming in, Ultra's Cavern, he's going to be able to round off his tech very nicely. And just, you know, once he starts getting Ultras into the mix, maybe some Broodlords, what the hell is Nabelman going to be able to do?
I don't think it's going to be lost. And you see this little Scout Surgeon is going to come in. Actually, might be able, not be able to snipe that Queen, but we're going to be able to see exactly what's in here. And they see that actually there's not much in here.
Not much, and the army composition is still sitting here on Roach Hydra with 2-2 upgrades. So, I mean, his 3-3 is just only about like 20% done. So there is going to be a nice time in here that if TVT wants to make a nice engagement or force trade here, I think he will, because then he's going to be able to remax into Ultra or Broodlord or something like that.
And Nabelman's going to try something here with the Vipers. So I'm not sure what actually he's going to grab with those Vipers. I mean, he could grab 2 Infestors, 3 Infestors, maybe, but I mean, that's not going to help him.
I think maybe that's just more of a desperation move I think he's going to use the Blinding Cloud, if anything, because his opponent's army still is mostly Roach Hydra, so a Blinding Cloud or 2 can definitely turn the tides in his favor. The problem, though, is that the remax for TVT is going to be probably Ling Ultra or something like that, and that's just going to crush his opponent. And
also we're going to see those Infestors just go to work, and they're going to be able to hit all of those Hydras. And actually, what's Dark Cloud supposed to do about that?
It's not going to do anything about that, to be honest. So, yeah, we're going to see the first engagement coming up very soon. And I don't know. I mean, We'll see. Anything could happen. Remember that we're not looking at the upper echelon of StarCraft 2 here, so mistakes can certainly be made on either end, even with a lead this far. But I just am very doubtful that that's going to actually happen.
Yeah, but whatever is going to happen is going to happen very soon, because these units are moving out here, and it's actually going to be Bman who does the first move. He's going to actually be going to try to make something here.
Yeah, going up to this 5th base, he will be able to deny that. But again, keep in mind that what he needs to do is actually just try to kill this army in a cost-effective trade. Getting into a decent spot on the ramp, but these fungals are ginormous on everything. And I don't know, the Blinding Clouds are not going to do crap against these ultras. They don't really care.
And all of this fungus is going to hit all of those Hydras. So Hydras going solo, and this infested Terrans are going to come in as well.
Yeah.
And this army is going to get wiped without a sweat. This actually seems to be GG for Bman. I don't see how he can get back into this game after losing all of those units.
Yeah, you know, even with the upgrades having evened out by that point, it just doesn't matter, because the army, its composition is just so much better with splash damage and ultras to tank. It's just going to rip apart a Roach Hydra army like you just saw.
Yeah, and now we see 11 Ultralisks coming out of TVT, and I'm actually not sure about all of those Ultralisks.
That's a bit overkill, but I think he knows how far ahead he is, and that his opponent can't really remax on anything but more Roach Hydra. So and I think he retained most of his infestors, did he not?
Yeah, he actually has. He only has. They're very low in energy right now, so not going to be able to do very much. I think he overfunged a little bit.
Yeah,
put out
perhaps.
a few more fungus than he really needed to.
Especially getting all those infested Terrans, those are kind of an energy waste. And 99% of situations, I don't think you want to build infested Terrans.
No, I think there was a little bit of a slap in the face with his opponent here. I don't really need these infestors, but this might cost him, because there's a lot of gold. There's a lot of minerals and gas in the bank.
TVT actually, he got fed up with the Nidus. He decided to make his own Nidus.
Yeah, it's not going to work out, but that's once again a little bit of a slap in the face. Hello there, I got the Nidus. There's no Banelings this time, so actually I believe that the Banelings are the things that are going to do most damage if you're going to try to do something with a Nidus work.
Yeah. Especially if they're trying to defend with Lings or drones. You just, hey, surprise Baneling.
Yeah, I actually feel like if we saw more Banelings come out here from TVT, just a few Banelings, just a few Baneling drops perhaps on the Hydras together with the fungus, I believe that would actually end the game very quickly. Because these Hydras actually, if they get those Ultralisks in, for example, in a ramp, those Ultralisks are going to have a hard time, and they're so big they're actually going to block the rest of his army, so he's not going to be able to put up much more, but maybe a few fungus and some infested Terrans.
Certainly could be the case. I mean, I find it kind of funny that you just throwing Nidus down. So I guess he knows that the army is going to get spread so thin that you know, it's just going to make this engagement even more one-sided. But
yeah, but this is a really bad engagement going down to the Bman. He's really in a bad position here, so it doesn't really matter. But this is, I mean, he's even a few Hydras who aren't even shooting. So yeah, those bye Hydras. Oh, he's got a few Ultras of his own now. So those Ultras, Ultra versus Ultra, and who's going to win?
Yeah,
it's probably maybe not Bman, since he doesn't have that many Ultras. So no, it's not going to be Bman.
Especially with this Hydra Roach support, I mean, it's just not going to. It's not going to cut it. Not today. Not with this state of.
Not to mention those infested Terrans. Never forget the infested Terrans. Those are really important, I hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're just standing around watching and taking some notes. Maybe learning how to be a Zerg.
Yeah. Yep. But there's a few more Hydras coming out here, and I think this is the part where TVT is actually just going to win. You see so much mineral, so much in the bag for Bman, who actually can't do anything with it. Well, he's very low on gas as well, but he can't do anything because he has no larva, he has no bases, he has no gas. So this is actually the last piece of army he's going to be able to produce.
Now, yeah, because you can see that just the supply tells the whole story here. It's already getting remaxed. Well, TVT's getting remaxed, whereas his opponent's still only sitting at 116 or 120-ish supply. So this next wave is going to just, if he hits again, the army of Bman is going to be all on the eggs and popping out one at a time or something like that. And he's actually going for a counterattack here, which may take out a base, but that doesn't really matter too much.
I believe so as well. I think you know, TVT doesn't really care about this base anymore. He can get a new one really quick. Actually,
in fact, I think this base is just more of like a distraction. Just, hey, come down and kill this so I can kill your army faster.
Yeah, I believe so as well. And
they're getting burrowed, but there are some overseers in place to see
but they're actually not going to be able to get them anyway, since there's too many units here. So they're going to have to run away.
Now we will see the fumbles and lockdown.
Yeah, and they decided to actually take the fight for some reason, and I think this is Namelman saying EG here.
Oh, I hope so, but he may not.
Might not. He might not.
It seems like he's deciding that he...
Yeah, I mean, he did a conventional thing where you use your whole army as a diversion to be able to take out, almost kill a queen in another base, and this is something we see very often, I believe.
Yeah.
Where you let your whole army die, but you actually get a few kills in an expansion, which is great because then he has a few less drones to mine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, I mean, we're watching the unusually slow death of the Zerg. I can't really explain why it's so slow, but it feels like it should have gone a lot faster than this. I don't know.
I really don't know if TVT just likes to mess around with his units because he's at full production. I mean, he's full saturation here. I mean, he's a full supply. He can do whatever he wants actually. But those roaches, those.
I mean, like we said, these players may not have the best game sense.
But perfect timing on that Ultralisk.
Exactly.
That Ultralisk made all the difference here. That Ultralisk. Without that Ultralisk, I'm fairly certain that at least another drone would have died.
No, I'm not blaming TVT at all for taking his time here because it can be tricky to know exactly how far ahead you are if you don't have the top level game sense. So if you're going to be like, oh well, you have to be really sure that your opponent is so dead that you can just keep ramming stuff at him, because if you actually miscalculate that and go for it when you're not as far ahead as you think, you've just thrown away the whole game. And that actually happens in the pro level sometimes too, where people make those miscalculations. So I don't blame him for taking his time, especially if he's a bit uncomfortable with his game sense.
Yeah, and now we see the Nidus Worm going down, and we see actually TVT lost an Overlord, and that's going to cost him for a few seconds, and now it didn't cost him anymore. But yeah, he's gonna actually open up all entries into his opponent's base. So
looks like he's maybe getting fed up with it now and just realizes that his opponent's sitting with like a small group of Hydralisks, and you can just move into that. But I think he just wanted to take his time and make sure that he could actually gauge just how big this army was before he runs in with everything.
I mean, I feel right now that TVT is he's just like prank knocking on doors. Just knocking a little bit everywhere at Namelman's base. Hello, anyone there?
He wants to draw out the whole army before he fights. So he just wants to know he's getting what he's paying for, whatever.
Yeah, and those Hydras are gone. Those Hydras glory days
and now
are
we're
over.
going to see Lings versus Ultras.
And yeah, actually, there the Lings are. And those Infestors are going to try to get on a fungal lockdown on those, but
the
no.
Lings, it's just going to go for the counter. This is like maybe you're going to get so terrified from these Lings because they're scary and look like monsters.
Yeah, and actually he's going to pull back his entire army to deal with this before he finishes this game.
Namelman showing that he has the APM to take out a Nidus Worm with drones while also attacking another base here, while also losing the game. So
that's three things to do at the same time, and that's more than I'm doing right now, because I'm only
losing the game right now.
No, and I'm only talking.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm doing right now. I'm not even handling the camera. So
yeah, but you're also providing a morale boost for the UniSL.
Yeah, definitely. And it's another Nidus Worm going down. And I think that TV, I'm not sure what TV is doing right now. He's actually, this is from Banelings.
Look at Namelman. He's going complete all out right now. He's just like, no, I'm going to keep annoying you.
Yeah, and all of those Zerglings want to really squeeze into that tight spot and then decide that they did not want to do that. So those Banelings are actually going to get a few kills.
If this were my game, I'd be getting kind of pissed by now, because like, this is getting to the point where it's like the equivalent of a Terran lifting around all his buildings. There's a Zerg who's dead just building Banelings behind your like 6th base. It doesn't even matter if you blow it up with nukes. Like, he wouldn't even care.
And there's finally the GG from Namelman. So that's actually quite a long game for no apparent reason.
Yeah, unnecessarily long is one way to put it. Also, maybe just players having a bit of fun, and we don't know. Maybe these guys are just teasing each other, or
I got a feeling actually that these players knew each other when they were talking at the beginning, so I felt like they knew each other. And well, it might actually be that they were playing before. They knew that Bman would probably lose against this, and Bman just wanted to make a little bit fun of his friend. I don't know.
Yeah, it's quite possible from what we saw. But in any case, I think I'm excited to get into the next game. How about you?
Yeah, I'm excited about the next game. A little bit more excited, actually. And this game is going to be a game versus Samurai Jack versus Bobaflot. And I really want to tell you guys here that Samurai Jack actually is a friend of mine. He wrote to me on Facebook just last day and he said that, hey, Sang, here you're going to cast my game. So if you wonder if I'm heckling this guy a little bit too much, if you think it's too much, then you should know it's all fun and games. He's a good friend of mine and he's not going to mind, probably. And if he does, I'm not really going to care that much. So, Erik, you too, feel free to really heckle this guy.
Okay.
Really hoping for see a fun game here between Samurai Jack and Bobaflot.
Indeed, and this game is going to be, I think, another one of the casual games. So I don't know exactly what leagues we're dealing with, but it's going to be below Masters, that's for sure. Now, so we have it's a turn versus Zerg on. We saw one map in this map before. It's Derelict Watcher, and in TVZ on this map. Now, okay, I'm a bit unsure if this is pre-patch or post-patch. I'm going to assume that it's pre-patch, but again, not going to matter too much in the casual league because those changes were a bit subtle, I think. The Widowmine nerf, not something that I think is going to be too game changing for this level of play. Same thing with the mech buff. If you're in if you're below Diamond League and you want to go mech, then that buff shouldn't really be changing your mind about it. You should just go for it anyway.
One thing I can mention is that Samurai Jack actually played a lot of StarCraft 1, and he's been playing StarCraft 2 since the beta, so even if, I think he did a bit of a pause there for maybe half a year ago, and he hasn't been playing very much lately, so I think it's not that high, but he used to be a fairly good player, so I'm actually hoping, at least hoping, to see some good plays out of him.
Indeed, we probably will, and you know what, that's something that a lot of players who do take breaks, you know, when they come back, you need probably at least a month or maybe even more just to kind of get back in the swing of things, understand the meta, understand exactly, you know, what you should be doing now, what's changed since you've been gone, and that is a kind of a long process, I think, and people may underestimate just how much work goes into that.
Absolutely. And see, Samurai Jack is going to scout around. He's going to see that natural being put down, so he's going to know what's up here in this place.
But now, interestingly enough, Bobaflot is going. He went for like a super early pool into fairly quick expansion, so a bit odd build. I don't know that really what he's going to be doing with this because he's not building lings, but his pool is done. So like, what?
Also, he's really behind in supplies. So
yeah, I know that's the thing because he cut drones basically to make a quick pool, which he's not using for anything.
Actually, are you just going to be able to squeeze through that?
They're not
going to be able to squeeze through.
That's a solid wall, but it's a bit weird a wall because. You know, again, like you said, if Samurai Jack took a break, he may not know the map so well, and it is always a bit different on each map whether you should go for a, you know, barracks on the top or the bottom or whatnot. And, you know, actually having to build that second supply depot, I think that early is one indication that he doesn't really know exactly well how the map works. Now, it's a weird build too from Samurai Jack actually, getting the 2 racks into gas. This is probably going to be some kind of a stim all-in if I had to guess, because I don't see any other reason why you would get such a fast gas and then also the second barracks like this.
So we see Samurai Jack testing the wall off there, realizing, nope, that is not a wall off. There is a huge hole in here. I really hope my opponent will not notice this.
So for those of you watching, if you want to do this wall the proper way, what you do is you build the depot actually where the tech lab is, and then you build the barracks like up kind of above that, and then one more depot. Well, that depot is in the right spot, the last one. The one on the top right. So
well, at least one out of 3 is right.
Yeah,
I mean, that has to count for something. But actually, to stop heckling here, I really feel that what we see here for Samurai Jack might be a little bit of old meta.
Yes, definitely looks like something we may have seen back in the early Wings of Liberty days. This, you know, ironically we used to see builds like this quite a bit, where one-based medevac like drop plays would come into play, maybe even SCV pulls. Really weird stuff. And you know, if a player like Bobaflot, maybe he wasn't playing back then, maybe he doesn't really remember all of those weird Wings of Liberty builds, this could actually throw him off guard quite a bit, especially since he didn't go for the most standard opening himself.
No, actually, we're gonna see Bobaflot actually now is not that much behind, but it's still actually a little bit behind. It's been behind the entire game since he started with that weird opening where he actually used a lot of.
You know what
his
happened?
minerals.
I'm gonna kind of explain it. And to his defense, what happened was I think he was gonna go for, I missed it, with either like an 7 or 8 pool maybe. And what happened was he saw the scout coming across the map with his overlord. And then he decided that he just, you know, he got cold feet. He figured that it's not going to work, and just to kind of try to macro out of it, maybe try to salvage a bad situation. And you know, considering that Samurai Jack has kind of gone for his own wonky build, maybe that was actually a decent decision.
Absolutely, in this map, it seems like this is gonna work out for him. It's actually gonna, he's actually still a little bit behind, but you see the Baneling, I see they're gonna see a Baneling bust, sort of very late Baneling bust coming up.
It could certainly be a Baneling bust, especially with this, well, the lair coming down. That's a bit odd. Maybe he wants to do some kind of drop play, or no, I don't know. You get drops on Hive Deck now, so I guess you don't need that. So I don't know. I think maybe it's just gonna be for like Baneling speed, or I honestly I couldn't tell you what it's gonna be. It's certainly not something that you would normally see in a TVZ though.
What I believe it might be, it might be a little bit of, you know, like you said, these players are not the high-level players.
Yeah.
I believe it's a little bit of, I want to be prepared for anything, kind of thinking. I believe that's sort of a mistake I would make.
Yeah.
I would think that, okay, so I've been building these Banelings, and that's great.
Certainly.
But what happens if he, for some reason, pops out a battle cruiser in my face?
Right.
Because I'm not sure about timings.
Now, to explain though, for new players watching, if you are of that mindset and you're afraid a bit of what could happen, one very easy way as a Zerg to just check that out is to get that Overlord speed upgrade on the hatchery. You don't even need to get a lair, and then you can actually very easily scout around the Terran base and, you know, not necessarily lose your Overlord. So that's one way to do it that maybe not as much commitment as teching up to a lair when you would rather get your third hatchery or drone up or something like that.
Another good thing to know is that it's not very good to have a bit of Widow Mine just standing around inside of your base instead of being burned into the ground, because it exactly does nothing right now.
Now, it does though. I mean, he is going to go for some kind of all-in timing here. Getting that armory, a really weird decision. I don't know why. Oh, it's okay. So he wants it for some Hellbats, I think, but. I think this is just going to be some kind of like well, he's getting the Hellbats really late, so I don't know really why he's... Maybe he just thinks he can reinforce with Hellbats or fall back.
Well, Sandberg is actually supply blocked right now, so he might just want to spend some of his units, you know, to get the supply back. Well, actually, he's gonna do. Oh my God!
No, that's actually okay. I think that.
Yeah, that's something with the Banelings.
Yeah.
He actually lost. I thought he was gonna lose 2 Banelings to that.
He needs the Banelings for the bio, and now he has no Banelings left. And this attack, like I was saying, it's so weird, and you never ever see attacks like this in the pro scene if you watch games. So this is actually, I think, gonna just do so much damage.
Actually, I think this might almost be the end
yeah,
game, but these Banelings are actually going to go to work.
Oh God, did you see that? The Widow Mine just did so much splash damage on the bio. It brought them down to below half health. With no medevacs around, the Banelings can like easily kill this army, especially if it's clumped up. He needs to split, but I don't know if he will. Trying to fight back and losing so much bio there. But still not quite enough to kill it.
Oh, there's actually a few more Banelings. These Banelings are almost going to wipe out this, but this Queen actually could be able to take out those Marauders.
Yeah, you know.
And now Mutas.
Where's the Mutas come? I wasn't even paying attention.
No, I mean neither, but okay, now I see where this was going, I guess, for Boba Flott.
I was paying so much attention to that weird Terran build, I didn't even see that he was teching the Mutas.
But Boba Flott has so few... so little income right now.
The funny thing here is that he actually has an armory, so like he could actually just build a Thor and like go for a counter, but I actually think that could just win the game because the income is so low for Boba Flott. It's not like if he actually waits to build a Thor, I don't think he's gonna have to deal with too much Zerg stuff.
But we're actually, aren't we gonna have to see an expansion coming down here from Samurai Jack since?
I think he's actually just too well, and that's why I don't like this decision to build turrets, because he needs to end the game now or he's just gonna lose, because he has no. You know, actually, this could turn into a game where he just mines out his main and then floats out his orbital command to his natural and then starts mining there, because that's like how far behind he is when it comes to his minerals. And you see his gas is so high. Like this, you can see this is not a build he's probably prepared very well for, because otherwise he would have. It's either a build that he wins the game with at that point, or he loses the game. So now that he's kind of done some marginal amount of damage, it's really weird, and he doesn't know how to follow this up. That's just my personal analysis, though.
Yeah, we're gonna see the Locust coming down here from the Zerg. So Zerg's gonna actually have to turtle here, and he thinks he's in a bad position where he has to defend his bases. Or how would you analyze this situation?
Yeah, the third base is really far, and there's no creep spread, so he's gonna probably lose this base. Now the thing is that the Banelings are gonna come up, and he needs to spread against him. If he spreads, he can potentially hold this, but he's not gonna split. Oh wow, nice job actually. Yeah, those Marauders and Hellbats tanked all the Baneling hits, so he's actually gonna be able to kill his bases.
Yeah, Bman was a little bit of this micro there. Actually, did not direct any of his Banelings towards those Marines, and actually
it's really scary. I think this. Normally against this kind of Marine Marauder play, you just would pull some drones and deal with it. But when there's like 1 or 2 Hellbats in there, you can't really pull your drones. You're going to lose everything. The splash damage is just too great against drones.
We're going to see once more a few more Banelings going to be morphed here. And actually, Samurai Jack is going to be happy with this. He's actually going to pull out.
And we are seeing that expansion now too.
Yeah, and he's gonna build his expansion. Traditionally, just building it inside of his base. Gonna build some more units meanwhile to just keep up putting out the pressure on Babaflot.
Yeah, indeed. And I think at this point, it's, you know, this game could potentially stabilize if both players are like in turtle mindset. But we'll see. I mean, looking just at the split up worker count, Babaflot is ahead. So even though like he's gonna have the second command center coming up soon, it's not going to get saturated because the worker count is so low. So, like, I don't think he's actually going to be able to macro himself out of this spot. He needs to still end the game now, I think.
Yeah, Samurai Jack is actually going to have to rely only on mules for saturation on his second now.
And the energy is not necessarily high enough, I think, to do that. So this attack now, I'd say if he doesn't do significant damage or kill the expansion, at least for the Zerg, he's going to be super
So did not expect this, and those Banelings once again, I think they're going to be tanked up by those Hellbats.
Very good job there. I mean, oh wow, it's just going to end the game straight up. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he was just not expecting this kind of counterattack. Maybe he just thought, well, I've held off like 3 waves of a weird all-in that I've never seen before, so possibly, I mean, there's no way that the Terran could possibly throw another wave at me, and he just did. So it ended, and it was really weird and kind of one-sided ending.
Yeah, well, that's what happens here in the casual leagues. I mean, casual Gamma here, Samurai Jack versus Babaflot. We have no idea how much these players have played before. I know that Samurai Jack played a little bit before, actually quite a lot before, but he's not used to the current meta. So I think we see here is fairly, maybe from a year back.
He had some ideas. He probably looked at the new units, the Hellbats, the Mines, and he had some ideas of, these can be very, very strong when mixed with early stim attack. And certainly that's just it's a logical way of thinking about the game and approaching it and learning it. So, I think that's a fairly nice way to approach a new game.
Absolutely. And we have one last game for you guys here. It's going to be between the TT Dance and Zerban from Stockholm University and Högskolan West. So this can actually be 1-0 to TT Dance, the Zerg versus this Protoss. And what we think we're going to see here, the Zerg versus Protoss again. We've seen this before today.
And it is another game from the Casual League. So seeing a PvZ on this map, it actually could turn out quite funny, I think, because this is one of the weirder maps in the map pool, especially for PvZ. Mostly because the third base, well, there's 2 options for third base. One of them is behind rocks and actually covered by rocks. The other one is kind of wide out in the open. And so I'd imagine that the Zerg goes for the one that's kind of like wide out in the open, or even the Zerg could take this one all the way to the left side, which is a bit harder to defend, but it's far away enough from the watchtower that like Protoss might not necessarily scout it or go all the way down there. So yeah, there's definitely some options to be had on both sides, but I think most likely from the Protoss player, we would see like a 2-base all-in or something like that.
And I just like to point out here that it's the names are a little bit weird. We got Serban here, the Protoss player, in the upper middle of the map, and we see Jellykit bottom. And I suppose that it might be that the TT Dance might have like borrowed maybe an account from someone for some reason, not sure
Quite possibly.
why. Or maybe he switched names recently, or not sure. But this is supposed to be TT Dance, so we're gonna actually I'm gonna refer to Jello Kit as TT Dance, and we'll see if I'm wrong later out.
Sounds fine to me. And but in any case, looks like no drone scout for the Zerg, so it's viable. I mean, you don't have to drone scout. He's getting a quick gas anyway, so certainly going to be playing a more safe reactive style, getting his gas pool, and going to expand probably after that. It's actually going to it's going to turn out pretty well because his opponent is going for the gate first, so having these quick speedlings, it could pose a little bit of a threat. It's not going to be like a 10 pool speedling build, which actually just shuts down most gateway expansions, but it certainly could put on some damage if you don't get the mothership core out right in the nick of time.
And so we're going to see a lot of early aggression coming out of this Zerg right here, and he's going to just wait up, he's going to drone up, and he's going to, as soon as he hits that 100 gas, he's going to just start producing his Zergling speed.
I'd be surprised if he made more than like 6 Zerglings, but that's still enough to do some damage and get at least a nice scout. Oftentimes when you get the speed that early, you can just run around the main base with like 1 or 2 lings and keep them there for a few minutes if your control is good. And that's really nice because it means that you can actually just know what the Protoss is doing all game long. The thing is, what I'm a bit confused about though is that Zerban's cut his probes and he's stopped chrono boosting. So maybe he's saving up for some gateways or something like that. It's natural. He's actually getting a Zealot core, so a bit odd of a build. Getting his mothership core too.
He actually saved up that energy to just chrono boost his Nexus.
Yeah, I mean,
so
maybe he wants to go for some pressure. He's canceling Zealot though, which is odd because if you want to go for like a Zealot mothership core attack, you want to have maybe 2 Zealots and a mothership core, and then you chrono boost them out and go for it. But in this position, the Zealots are not even started, or he canceled one, I think. So maybe he just wants to expand instead.
We'll see a direct reaction here from Dance. Is going to react and move away this Overlord, but it seems like Serban is actually just fine, content with having this Overlord chilling around in the space.
Yeah, and I think that TT Dance now is putting these first 4 links in. Speed is going to finish soon, and he's actually going to maybe kill this probe, which will delay the expansion even more. And already I think that it's a very late expansion for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's going to be late, but it's not going to be delayed, actually. Not very much, at least.
But
this speed actually is going to be up now, but I don't think the Cern is going to be able. He's going to actually be able to snipe. No, actually not being able to snipe. And once again, I did this micro from Serban.
Yeah, like I said, that he's going to actually be able to keep the Sling alive if he has good control, which is nice. But the probe count is just so low for Serban, and going into a macro play when you've cut probes, just it doesn't really mesh well together, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, and we see the income so low from Serban. He's putting a lot into his gas, but I don't know what he's supposed to do with this, because with so little gold, I mean, with minerals, he can't really do anything.
You know, maybe he just was unsure going into this. It's so important to have your strategy planned out before you go into a game, because if you go into a game and you kind of change your mind in the middle of it, like, oh, I want to expand, but actually, I think I'd rather put on some pressure with a mothership core or something. If you change that decision in the middle of the game, it's going to look sloppy, almost always. So I think for new players, it's always good just to pick one build and kind of try to master that. And then once you master that, then you can think about changing it up every now and then.
Well, we see now that Serban's can actually try to produce a few more drones. He's actually going to try to get saturation both on his main base and his natural, so we're going to see that very soon. But in the meanwhile, Jello Kit has been, Dance has been just, at high economics for so long.
He's getting his double evos now, actually, right after he throws in his third. So he's playing pretty standard all around. I mean, I don't see too much wrong with his play, except yeah, actually it's been pretty good because he's been keeping a good job scouting the Protoss, so he knows that he can kind of safely take this third base since there's no crazy amount of gateways coming down, and the Protoss was actually going for his own delayed expansion. So everything is looking good on TT Dance's side of things.
And once again, we're going to see
maybe he can get a sentry here, which would be an awesome pickup, but I don't think
he's going to be able to get it.
Wasting a force field on the ramp, though, is always something. It means that he's going to be a little bit more hold up here.
Absolutely. But I'm not sure really why he would have to use that force field. I don't think he really needed to use that force field.
Well, he didn't want the lings. If those speedlings run up in the main, well, first of all, they can scout the Stargate, but also they can just cause a bit of annoyance, especially if, if you're not quite sure what you're doing in the first place, you certainly don't also want to have to worry about Lings running around the base.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he revealed his target just a few seconds later. And
Certainly.
And his Phoenix up. Also, he had an Overlord inside of the base already who could scout for him. So I really feel that he could use that energy. He could have saved that energy for later.
He could have. He certainly could have. His first Phoenix, he knows he's been scouted, so he hasn't decided to like bank up 4 Phoenix or something like that. Just going around and going to scout with the Phoenix and see what's happening. And basically, he didn't see anything.
The Phoenix going dangerously low.
Yeah.
This might actually be picked up. It's actually picked up. A little bit misspiked.
He did get the proxy pylon placed down, so he's going to be able to do 4-gate Phoenix pressure on the 3rd. Now, if he gets the Knight Zealot warp in and hits the Zerg before that he gets his drones out, he could actually do quite a bit of damage. But already 10 Lings in the way, Bathing Nest in the way. I don't think that 4 Stalkers and a flooded before the Phoenix is probably not going to stop that, especially when drones can get pulled as well.
No, and a half-dead Mothership Core. I think he's just going to have to pull out of here, but...
He may recall, though. I mean, I would at least try to push in there, and then when things go bad, just recall. And then maybe, at the very least, you're going to force Zerg to make some units that he doesn't want to make. Because, you know, those units obviously could have been drones. And if you are making Zerglings rather than drones at this stage in the game, you're going to be a little bit weaker later on.
But those... those dogs actually out of position, completely out of position. And he's gonna get picked up, but he's gonna put down that time.
Yeah, not doing too much for him though. But yeah, very nice pickup. It's gonna reduce the threat now of this attack by quite a lot. Also giving him some more time now to morph in Banelings. He's already got about 12 of them, I think, and as well as quite a large number of Zealots. He just needs to get down to the 3rd base right now to save it.
Yes, I think this is going to be actually quite easy to defend for Dance, but we're going to see how this pans out.
Yeah, certainly. The Phoenixes are going to kill that 1 queen, but not a big loss, I think. You know, he has plenty more queens, and he's not going to be worrying about falling behind in macro right now against this still 2-base Protoss with still not the best saturation on his natural. And actually, he's continuing to make Phoenix beyond 4, which is often something you do like as a tempo play when you are keeping up the harass and you're doing a lot of damage. But in this case, he hasn't been necessarily doing enough damage that it would justify making even more Phoenix.
Yeah, that Sandberg is actually losing 1 Phoenix due to not microing them correctly.
Yeah.
So he's actually going to pull out with his Phoenix. Doesn't really. I don't feel like Serban is the kind of player who really should be trying to do that high micro play.
Exactly.
Because he's going to just lack in macro.
And the longer this game goes on, those Phoenix are not going to be really doing so much more. The defense has already been made. He knows that there's Phoenix out, so you can't really expect these to do something that's going to change the whole flow of the game. You know, even if he picks off a few more queens, I don't know if that's worth the cost that he's taken in delaying the rest of his tech. Because now his Colossus are going to be so late. So the Zergling Baneling army is going to actually be decent in the mid-game, which usually it's not that good in the mid-game against Protoss.
Yeah, the problem here, I say, for Dance is that he's actually banking a lot of minerals right now. On the other hand, so is Serban. But I feel like Delicate has, I mean, Dance been been ahead a lot this game, and he's actually microing a little bit too much maybe right now, and he's losing focus on his macro.
It's true, yeah. He has been losing focus, but you have to look also at the army composition and the potential for attack. At this level of play, you never really know when a player is going to attack. They haven't really maybe figured out, besides some of the basic timings, when it's a good idea to go and try to get some damage done. So, you know, things can then can swing in either way quite drastically.
Yeah, but we just saw Serban produce a lot, or used to spend a lot of minerals on something. I'm not sure
drones,
what.
It was mostly drones and also some tech. Zerban. Yes, he's made his gateways and also some cannons and double forge. So he's gearing up to go into a long-term game right now. He did put on some pressure, and he's still actually being surprisingly active with his Phoenix. I'm very impressed actually how well he's doing with them, not losing any more and picking off a lot of queens. So this, you know, is actually starting to get maybe a little bit scary for TT Dance, because if he doesn't actually manage to capitalize on the fact that the army is so dinky for Zerban, then the third base is going to start mining, the Colossus are going to start coming out, and things are going to get to that death ball situation.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see here, Dance is going to try to do something. He's going to move out actually with those banelings, but there's no saturation at all at this base, and Serban has so much defense, so I don't think he's actually going to be able to do something.
Well,
but
the Lings are going to sneak in.
There's not a wall up here, and Lings is going to sneak into the mineral line and start going to work on all of these workers. There's so many workers are going to go down, and we see here how he's going to try to warp in all of those units, but it's not in time, and at the meantime this natural has absolutely no workers mining.
Now, going for these workers, I actually am a little bit unhappy with that decision. I think it would have been smarter to go for the robotics in the robotics space, because he already has the economic lead. So if he could somehow manage to stall the tech for Protoss, then he doesn't even have to worry about Colossus the whole game.
And the Colossus is actually going to go down. It's actually going to go down. It actually walks right over those force fields and obliterates those force fields. So those Zergs actually both going to get out, and they're going to snipe a Colossi.
Exactly. But I just want to make this clear for any new Zergs that are watching this. If you are in that position and you can snipe a Nexus or you can kill the whole Protoss tech, and you're already ahead in your economy, go for the tech by all means, because the only thing that's going to let Protoss get back in this game is if you can build a death ball. And if you can kill his robotics, it's going to make his death ball a lot harder to reach. It sounds logical when I say it that way, but when you're in the heat of the moment and you see a Nexus, you're like, oh wow, Nexus, I should kill that when I can.
Absolutely, I get exactly what you mean. I mean, I feel like I would have been doing exactly the thing that you're telling me. I would have just seen that you see a beautiful Nexus, and I'm gonna snipe that Nexus. I like that Nexus is going down.
Yeah, but you have to think like, oh well, what is the way I can lose this game? And the way you can lose quite often in CVP is a death ball with Colossus. So whenever you can reduce your chances of losing, you're actually playing very well.
But we're finally seeing Hydras being produced here for Dance. So he's now, for the first time in this game, is actually going to have some sort of counter for these Phoenix who have been doing so much damage on his base.
Now, that being said, he's going to also be playing into the Colossus tech, which is not what he wants to do, because they're going to get melted should Zerban get to a point where he has 2 or 3 plus Colossi with range.
And these Hydras had been... They should have been produced like 5 minutes ago, maybe.
If at all. I mean, I would argue that he could have held this without Hydras because he scouted it, you know. Maybe he didn't build enough spores in his main, maybe we're needing 1 or 2 more. But I honestly think that the Hydras maybe were not totally necessary, especially if think about it. When you're going Ling, Baneling, the upgrades for that path of tech is different than the upgrades for Hydras. So maybe when you're going for Ling, Baneling, a more logical path to go down would be maybe some Infestor Ultra. Something like that.
Absolutely, but we see the Ultra list going down there, and so many Banelings.
So many Banelings.
And is he actually, is he going to do a Baneling drop on his opponent, but he's going to walk right into those cannons, so I'm not sure how many damage he's going to be able to do. He's going to be able to
blow. Losing 3 Banelings in that actually. But
but actually manages to destroy all,
but again,
all but 2.
You have to think about this again. He's throwing away his army at the economy of his opponent when he's already, like, it doesn't matter how... Like, he doesn't need to do harassment on Zerban's economy now, because he's already so far ahead, and he needs to get his army and his own tech going even further, because that's the one thing that he's gonna... His army supply is actually behind the Protoss, so he can kill workers all day if he wants, but trading Banelings for workers is not going to get him any further ahead in this game right now. That's a mistake, straight up.
But here's the thing, that Dance seems to really enjoy his Banelings. There's going to be more Banelings.
What I would suggest in this case, because he knows that the Protoss is very low in anti-air, only has a handful of Stalkers and Sentries, and the Phoenix are very bad at killing Overlords. If he were just to carpet bomb that entire army with Banelings, that would be GG, I think.
And I think that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to carpet bomb. He's really going to just move out those Overlords over his opponent. But I'm really not sure about this, because even if he manages to destroy his opponent's army, I feel like Serban is actually going to be able to max out faster.
Yeah, it is a threat. If he's given the time to throw down more gateways, that's certainly possible. But at the moment, I think he's only sitting on about I can't see the gateways. Let me see. It's 8 gateways, right? So yeah. That's not quite enough to get an army out immediately, but I mean, I think with this many hatches down, the Zerg could keep the tempo up should he be able to destroy this one army. And remember that Colossus take a really long time to build.
And we're seeing a small drop here in the main base of Serban. I don't think actually these Zergs are going to be able to do much damage, but a simulator, it has gone down.
Look at this, though. The whole army is getting loaded into Overlords, and he's going to be marching on in. And like I said, if he can kill these Colossus, I think he can win the game, because there's no way to deal with this many Banelings and Lings without splash damage. And that's his only source of it right now.
And he's going to see Serban is actually, I think Serban is very, very prepared for this. And Serban is actually going to move in such a bad position. And Yellow Kid is going to go over him and dance now. Starting to carpet bomb this army. The army can't stop for a second. It's trying to kite this, but it's a little bit too late. And oh my god.
Go down, and all the Colossus
so much damage to Serban. GG!
GG. Immediately after that Colossus went down, he knew that there's no way to deal with that many of the Zerglings and Lings, or Banelings, like I was saying, because you just need something else. You need Storms, you need Blink Stalkers, you need Void Rays, you need something else to actually deal with that number of ground melee units.
But you don't believe that it was a little premature GG for Serban there?
No, I think that was fine because, like I said, he just, even if he did have 15 gateways and a lot of money, what could he warp in against that many Lings and Banelings with better upgrades? If he warps in Stalkers, it would not be really enough. Even if he had Blink, it wouldn't be enough. If he had Charge Lots, they're going to melt the Banelings. And really, what he needs is some splash. He needs High Templar, or he needs Storms or Archons or something like that. Beefy units that can deal with that much crap on the map.
Crap on the map. I think that's actually
that's a good way to sum up that game.
Yeah, it's actually crap on the map. That's how we're gonna sum up that game, because that actually was our last game for today.
Indeed, it was, and it was a funny bunch of games. I'd say we saw a wide spectrum of craziness, of indecision, which led to awkward moments that, well, I hope were entertaining to everyone who watched.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope you're entertained. I've been entertained. I've been really pleasant to be here with you today, Erik.
I had a really great time casting with you, so awesome.
Last thing we're going to say here is that UniSL is actually looking for more people just like me and Erik, like casters, like people who really want to work with them to provide more games for your entertainment. So if you're interested in UniSL, check out their website, check out us, and I'd like to say thank you for watching.
Yeah. And even if you don't have some specific skill in the game, you're more than welcome. We have all sorts of positions open right now. We're both behind the scenes, working with PR. So please check it out. And in any way that you can help, it would be awesome. And it's just an awesome group of people here at UniSL. So please do check it out.
Check it out.
Yep. So I guess that's going to be it for today. And next week, by the way, if you haven't heard already, we're going to have the finals at KTH in Kista. You can find out more on the Facebook page. It's Facebook, I think, UniSL.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so go and follow us, and please come by. It's going to be a really fun event.
More crap on the map with me and Erik.
Indeed. So, see you next time. Bye-bye.